What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Universal Mastery. Welcome back to my public YouTube channel. Very glad to have you here. What exactly am I going to be speaking about in this very unique subject today for today's video? I'm going to be talking about how to actually energetically tap into someone's energy field. How do we tap into another person's energy body and start picking up on what they're feeling, what they're thinking, and generally pull out information from that person's energy field that maybe they're not bringing up to the surface themselves. Maybe they're not communicating it. Maybe they're actually trying to hide it. Who knows? So I'm going to be speaking about some of the mechanisms as to how we tap into other people's energy fields and then create a connection between ourselves and that person where we can start streamlining energy back and forth without even having to necessarily say words. Okay, this is going to be something that is very occult. This is something that a lot of people don't understand, but at the same time, people are actually doing this on a daily basis, and they may not fully understand the mechanisms as to what is actually happening here and why it's actually working. So if you want to know how to establish very strong energetic connections to other people to the point where you can start pulling things out of their unconscious and subconscious that maybe they were unaware of, or once again, maybe they're hiding, this is a video that's for you. You definitely want to stay tuned. I'll see you on the other side. All right, let me first start with introducing myself just in case you don't know who I am. If you're new to my channel, welcome in. And if you're reoccurring, glad to have you here. My name is Jeremiah Schwartz. I'm a professional occultist. I'm fully initiated in the entirety of the Kabbalistic tree. I'm studied when it comes to the 22 major arcana of the tarot deck. I'm studied when it comes to planetary energies in association with astrology. And I'm also studied when it comes to trauma and its relationship to the nervous system. Let's go into it now. So we are talking about how to energetically establish a very strong connection from one person to another. How do I do this? How am I able to pull things out of someone's unconscious that maybe they want to be aware of, but they don't have access to, or potentially pull things out that they're trying to hide that I probably should be aware of, something that could be important for me to know? How do I establish such a strong connection to be able to do this type of psychic work? All right, this is something that a lot of people want to know how to do, but unfortunately, most people are not allowing themselves to energetically connect on that level. And I'm going to go into the explanation as to why this is, and it actually becomes a lot more simplified than what the average person might think. Some people may think you have to have a certain level of knowledge, you have to have a certain psychic technique in order to tap into the energy field. And yes, there is knowledge, there is education, there are techniques that can help support this process, but generally, it is the part within our own bodies or within our own beings that is able, sorry, it's storming outside, it's pretty loud out there, the part within our own body that is able to connect with another person's body on a very deep level is a very natural part of our being that is not anything super crazy, it's not anything super, complex in the sense that we don't have to overanalyze it. We don't have to overcomplicate it. And that is our emotions. This is why I talk so much about the importance of having a connection to the feminine energy within yourself, which includes being able to feel your emotions, being willing to feel them and process the totality of the emotional spectrum that you've got going on inside of you right now, which most of us have a lot of stored negative repressed emotions, and that is because of our past traumas. The only problem is that most of us are spending every single day running away from feeling because we're afraid to feel them. But then that is causing a lot of unnecessary pain and suffering in our lives because of that. And a lot of us don't understand because we don't have the right education to know how important it is to actually feel. And one of the powers and the capabilities of learning how to get in touch with your own emotions, this should be enough education here to show you the significance of why you would even want to do this in the first place, is because you can establish very strong energetic connections to other people, all the way to the point where you can pull things out of the unconscious that literally look supernatural. In other words, how the fuck did you know that? How did you say that? How did you pick up on this? How are you saying this? I don't understand. Right? So the emotions within ourselves, once we have a regulated nervous system and once we're allowing ourselves to feel our own emotions, within time we go through this processing, we expand our capacity and we expand our own awareness to understand our bodies and understand ourselves to the point where we can carry this foundation that we've had to cultivate for ourselves, and we can bring that into the external world. We can bring this foundation that we have into our environments, into other relationships that we have connections with other people with, where we can start energetically linking into the emotional body of other human beings because we're in tune with our emotions. This is how powerful it is to be in touch with your emotions. The emotions really is the energies that are constantly moving through our circuit board, which is our nervous system. And when we start to regulate our nervous system and actively process these emotions that are traveling through the circuit board, we become this powerful force on the planets, or even in general, just in the universe, where we can energetically basically connect, or you could almost think of it like energetically link into, similar to how a Bluetooth links into a certain like device. We can link into the device of another human being's nervous system and connect our circuit board into their circuit board. And this is all taking place through the emotional state and the ability to be open to feeling the emotions while also simultaneously feeling them and processing them as they're coming through. And as I said, when you're someone who's been doing this for a period of time, you're becoming a lot more regulated and you have a much larger capacity than the person who hasn't been doing this, which means your foundation is really strong to the point where you can link into other people's emotional energy fields. You can link your nervous system basically to another person's nervous system and connect circuit boards, and you can actually start pulling things out of their nervous system, out of their body, from their deep unconscious mind that they were unwilling to process or that they were unwilling to look at. And you can start communicating it back to the person and letting them know, this is what I'm pulling out, or this is what I'm picking up, and this is what I'm seeing here. And a lot of this process is actually taking place unconsciously. So, for example, with the level of emotional regulation that I have such a capacity where I can conversate with a stranger. I can emotionally open myself up and be vulnerable. And if the person allows me to connect with them, if they're open to me linking into their energy field and sinking into their system, I can just naturally, unconsciously start saying things that become very significant to what it is that they need to hear. And deep in the back of their mind, they may think to themselves, how in the fuck does this kid know what he's saying? How come he's talking about something that I was literally just thinking about 5 minutes before our conversation? How did you know this information? Are you a psychic? Are you not from this planet? Right? So what I'm really discussing here is the real underlying mechanics of what it means to be psychic in the first place. It's emotional in its nature. It really is rooted in the emotions and the nervous system and the ability to first regulate the self, love the self, process the emotions and all the repressed negative energies that are behind that, to then have that capacity and that powerful foundation to actively connect to other people's circuit boards, to connect to other people's nervous systems. And you can have strong emotional connections if there's another person that's also open and also has a capacity and has their own foundation. This can be an extremely psychic experience with two people that are integrated on this level. And I'm talking about psychic to the point where you can become aware of things that you never even thought were possible. And you can start pulling things out of the real deep unconscious that are just mind-bending truths, mind-bending principles, and all types of things of that nature. So it becomes very fun. But ultimately, even if someone's not as emotionally vulnerable or as regulated as you are, you can still do a lot of work with another person in regards to just pulling things out that you might want to know, right? So like this could manifest in the form of like me going out in public, connecting with someone, having a conversation with them, and then connecting my energy field into theirs because I'm in tune with my emotions and I'm emotionally opening myself up to have this communication, where then I can start picking up on deep energies that are within this person. Maybe I pick up on things that I need to know. So maybe the person is telling me, hey, you know, this is what I do for a living. This is what my life is like. You know, what are you into and all these things. So we're having like this surface level conversation where our minds are communicating, but then underneath the surface, I'm also establishing an emotional connection with the person too. And if I'm regulated enough and I have a strong enough foundation, I can start pulling things out of that person's nervous system, literally out of their circuit board, bring it to the surface from the unconscious to the conscious, where I can become conscious of their unconscious, and I can actually see deeper potential intentions that this person may have. I can start picking up on some of the emotions that they're repressing, so I can actually understand a deeper level of the person I'm actually interacting with, and I can see how honest they are with me on that surface level. So if they're telling me, oh, I'm this type of person, this is what I do for a living, this is what my life is like, I can actually start picking up on the true information that is actually coming out of their unconscious straight from their body. So maybe this person isn't living the life that they say they're living. Maybe they're actually a scammer, a cheater, a stealer, a harmful person. And they're telling me logically, mentally, oh, I am this good person. This is what I do. This is what I'm about. But on the unconscious energetic level, if I'm able to connect to them on that nervous system level, I can pull out the truth. I can pull out real answers. I can pull out real emotional awareness here. And this is something that can and does take place on a daily basis, but a lot of people aren't really aware of what's happening. And the more aware that you become of this process, the more you can fine-tune it within yourself, which really all comes down to just working on yourself, working on learning how to feel to a deeper degree, and allowing yourself time to do that, and structuring your life in such a way where you can be more authentic to who you are, and you can have routines of safety so that you can do even more emotional processing. Because ultimately, that's what we need in order to do the emotional work. As I said earlier, most of us are spending most of our lives running away from what we're actually feeling. And one of the biggest reasons why we're doing this is because we don't have safety in our life. It's too overwhelming. So of course, when we start to feel sad or fear or anger, we're going to want to distract ourselves and continue to run away because we don't feel safe when we go back home. We don't feel safe when we go back to that relationship with our toxic partner. We don't feel safe when we have to go to our job that literally shames us every day and makes us repress even more of our emotions. We just don't feel safe. We don't feel safe whenever we're using substances. Every time I smoke weed, it's like I'm super paranoid. I don't feel safe, right? So we need to create that safety to then get to the space where we can start doing deeper levels of the emotional integration. And the more you do this process, the more you focus on this, and the more you integrate the true self, the stronger of a foundation you have, so that when you go out in public or when you communicate with anyone else that is a human being, you are establishing a really strong energetic connection to most people you're communicating with. Regardless, you're having a profound energetic effect on everything within any type of environment, just because that's what naturally happens when you regulate your nervous system and when you're learning how to express authentically. But when another person is open to your influence, or they're open to you communicating with them, and they start to let their guard down enough for that link to take place, where your nervous system now connects with theirs, there is phenomenal things that can start coming out or coming to the surface that are actually going to be very important things for that person to be aware of. And they're also going to be important for the person pulling it out, It's going to be important for you to see, because there are no human interactions on our planet between one human and another where it's not divinely orchestrated. So every single person that you truly attract in your life, when it's that moment at that time, there is something parallel there to a point where that person has something to show you and you have something to show that person. And together, if you both understand that, you can grow together. Sometimes the other person doesn't understand it. If you understand it, you can grow from it. All right. So when you start pulling things out of the unconscious, you're literally, this is the essence of the occult, because this is the hidden part of our own psyches. It's the hidden part of our expression and our beings. And when you have the ability to connect to that deep of a level within another person and then pull it out of them, you're now learning directly from the hidden realms. You're having the most raw and honest experiences because it's outside of what the ego can even comprehend, and it's outside of what the ego can even try to hide or try to control. You're pulling it directly from underneath those deepest layers of what is just raw experience and raw emotion within that person. And this is what it means to be psychic. This is what all psychics do on our planet. They are people that are in tune with their emotions, and they are able to feel to the extent where they can actually feel into another person's nervous system, feel into another person's body, which then gives them access to the energy body of that person to start pulling out information to the surface. And this is not a controlled process. It doesn't have to be a controlled process. This isn't like, okay, I'm going to meet with the person. I need to get ready to tap into their nervous system. I need to get ready to pull out this information that they might not be aware of. It's just a natural process. It's very organic when it takes place, and it's directly tied to the level of emotional integration and nervous system regulation that you're doing with yourself. So naturally, as you start doing this work on yourself, with yourself, going through the hard challenge of what it brings, because there's a reason why most people don't have access to their psychic abilities. There's a reason why most people have dysregulated nervous systems and lack an emotional connection. There's a reason for these things. It's not easy to start this process, especially if you don't have the proper education and guidance. And if you're looking for that proper education and guidance, second link below is where you can book a mentorship with me, and that can be life-changing, all right? But other than that, as you're doing that holistic integration on your own, you will naturally start emanating these qualities when you're connecting with other people that are willing to allow you to link into their nervous system, to link into their energy field. And you will start seeing how psychic you actually are naturally, okay? All of us are natural psychics. Every single one of you listening to this. At our core true self level, we are psychics, and we have all different types of spiritual capabilities, spiritual skill sets, and knowledge, really. And the only thing that stands in between that is the unhealed past trauma we went through and the part of ourself that had to separate from the true self to survive that trauma, which is highly connected to a strong belief system, mindset, mental attachments. So when we start undoing those attachments, when we start letting go of those beliefs and those mindsets, and then we start integrating those negative repressed emotions, that is when we start naturally, holistically, and organically start accessing our psychic gifts, our psychic potentials. We don't need to spend hours upon hours doing certain types of meditations, hours upon hours doing certain types of visualizations, hours upon hours doing certain types of rituals to gain our psychic abilities. These things aren't bad. Meditation isn't bad. Rituals aren't bad. These things aren't bad. They can play their role. They can be really cool tools to experiment with, and they can trigger significant change in someone's life. But ultimately, it is the true self-integration and the feeling of the emotions that are currently in the nervous system which gives you the real fundamental access to your psychic gifts, to your divine birthright for having psychic potential. So when we start undoing all those mental barriers and all those layers, and we start shifting the energy into healthy coping mechanisms, we start shifting the energy into the right education to know how to do this process, you naturally become more psychic, and you naturally become so much more spiritual. And you become spiritual in the right way, not in the floaty, fluffy, I'm forgetting that I'm a human being having a human experience. I would rather go back to my planet Sirius and live the life over there with the Pleiadians. Not that type of spiritual. We become the type of spiritual where we are grounded in our physical bodies with our human emotions. And the more we're allowing ourselves to be human, by paradox, the more psychic we're becoming. The more spiritual we are. The more spiritual, I should say, we are allowing ourselves to be. And the more other people see that and are thinking, how in the fuck are you doing that? How are you so psychic? How do you know these things? How do you do what you do? I don't understand it. Why are you able to attract good things into your life? Why are you able to just manifest business opportunities? Why are you able to live in this beautiful environment doing what you love to do and you feel good doing it? How are you doing this? How do you know all this information that you know? How did you know this about me? I never told you about this. You don't even know who I am. How did you understand that? This is a psychic power that we all have access to, and it lies within our emotional body. It lies within our ability to start feeling and processing our emotions so that when we go out into the world, we are able to energetically connect into other people's circuit boards and pull information directly from the unconscious realm. And guess what? This happens on a very, very spiritual level too, a very, very energetic based level where we can start pulling information directly out of the mass collective unconscious. So on a macrocosmic scale, we're not just able to energetically connect to one person's energy field and one person's nervous system and just gain access to their data or gain access to what they're feeling in their state, but we can do it on a macro level. The more capacity we build, the stronger our foundation, and we can start entering into you could almost think of it like the population's nervous system. So I want you to think of like a projection of every single person's nervous system being like a massive circuit board. And as your energy field is becoming powerful, this is due to your personal integration. So the more you're integrating your true self, the more you're feeling your emotions, the more powerful you're becoming. All right, that's the process. As you're doing that, you are able to tap into the circuit board of the mass collective and then go directly into that mass collective unconscious and pull out information that has not yet hit the surface yet. Information that is extremely deep information, all the way to the extent, look, this goes deep. We could even tap into deeper levels of the mass collective unconscious to the point where it's beyond our mass collective. We can go into the mass collective of the universe, the local universe, and its consciousness. And we could go deeper and deeper. I mean, we could go into multiverses. Okay, this can go very deep. And we can pull out information that has never been accessed in this lifetime yet on this planet, in this incarnation. So as you can see, there's many layers to this, and there's a lot of potential within this unknown, but this is a power that you gain access to, and you can start pulling things out from the collective unconscious that is literally things that the collective unconscious needs. So this can put you in a very good position because you now have knowledge and you have information, or you may have skills and gifts and tools that the mass collective needs, and you were able to pull that directly from the mass collective unconsciousness because you were reading into that data that was saying, this is what people need. There is a lack of people that are offering this gift. There is a lack of people that are offering this type of service or this type of work. And then that puts you in a good position because now you can run your business with extra awareness, extra knowledge, and you can have a deep knowing of what it is that people need in our today's time on an emotional level or on an energetic level. You know what people are looking for, and you can offer that as a service. And this is just giving a brief example of how you could use the mass collective unconscious to better help yourself and better love yourself by running a business that you love to do, where you are offering your gifts to other people that are investing in themselves. So that was an example that is something that I'm doing. But this can go so much deeper. I mean, think about all the information that you can access within the mass collective unconscious. It is beyond what you could imagine. There's so much potential there. There is so much to learn and so much to gain. And the most important thing about this video is me really communicating the simplicity of how to access this psychic potential and how to access this power, which literally comes down to regulating your nervous system, learning how to feel your emotions. It's the same process and the same concepts that I've been talking about in my other videos recently on my YouTube channel, because it really does become that simple and it causes that much of an impact. It is that serious. All right. And the reality, once again, is that most people are so far away from an emotional connection with their own bodies. Most people are spending 24 hours a day, for the most part, running away from what they're actually feeling without the proper education to know that if they start feeling what they're actually feeling, then they can start processing it and turning those negative emotions into positive, and then start feeling better so they can start living a life that actually feels right for them and feels better, feels more authentic, where they can actually have freedom and all these wonderful, beautiful things that we all really want to experience. But when you don't have that education, you just don't want to feel bad, so you run away from what's trapped in your nervous system. And there's a lot of trapped shit because we all go through trauma. And we don't like, obviously the trauma is not something we would necessarily want to relive, and we don't want to re-experience it. But when we have the right education to know that if we don't go back into that trauma and at least process it emotionally, we're going to consistently project that same negative energy that we're repressing unconsciously in our life over and over and over again, to the point where it's like this ongoing cycle that never ends, that keeps us living in a living hell. And once you understand that, once you have that education, it really encourages you to say, all right, this might be uncomfortable to start going into my feelings and start opening up a little bit more and start being a little more vulnerable. But if that means that it can put an end to this consistent cyclical hell that I've been stuck in for the past 30 years, I think I'm willing to go into that uncomfortability and potentially seeing that there's another side to it. Potentially realizing the grass is greener on the other side once I get through this process. And that's a reality. All right, so most people, the reason why they can't energetically connect with each other on that deeper level, and the reason why they can't have these psychic experiences, is once again because they're speaking from the mind only. They're speaking from a space within their body. I want you to really, as you're listening, I want you to visualize this, because I'm going to break this down so that you can actually understand how most humans are interacting with each other on a daily basis. And I want you to visualize this as in-depth as you can. And I want you to really try to pay attention to how is this happening in your life around you? Are you able to observe these similar types of mechanisms that are happening? So the reason why is because most people, as they're talking to each other, person A to person B, they are speaking from a space of consciously recognizing they don't feel good in their body, once again, because there are repressed negative emotions from their past trauma. And what's happening is they know they don't feel good in their body, so they are having to further be something else or further attach to something else, which implies belief systems and mindsets and behavior patterns and relationships and addictions and etc. And when they're speaking with from person A to person B, when person A is speaking from this space of being separated from who they truly are and having to identify with this artificial self, this becomes all based in a mental program. So this entire state that they're in is coming from a mental space where it's all about control. It's all about knowing what's happening, like having to always know what is going on at all times. It's coming from a space of being afraid to let go. It's coming from a space of needing to, once again, be in control. So these are like the three common factors. It's like a strong fear of letting go, a need to be in control, and a need to know what is happening. If these three things aren't there, then the ego starts to go through dissolution, which means it starts to dissolve. And that's a problem, because then the person's going to have to start feeling. So they have to reattach to something new. And what this does to person A is it keeps them in a strong mental space, a thinking space, where everything is thought out, everything is being thunk, everything is thinking. And then when you have person A who's doing this, and then they connect with person B who's doing the exact same thing, just in their own unique way, you have two heads that are talking to each other. Both of them are trying to be in control. Both of them are afraid to step into the unknown of what they don't know. And both of them are trying to, right now, know exactly what's happening and why it's happening at all times. And this is why when people communicate, it's just so rigid and it doesn't really go anywhere and nothing meaningful comes out of it, because it's just two heads, two egos that are both afraid to feel what they're actually feeling because they don't have the right education to know why. And they're just trying to basically, truly what they're trying to do is one's trying to dominate the other, or the other one's allowing themselves to be dominated and just surrendering to the other person, because that's the nature of what two egos are naturally going to do. It's like one's always going to want to get the upper hand, and they will either fight to get that position, or they will, repel each other, or one of them will surrender and become more passive while the other one dominates, and they will allow themselves to be dominated. All right? Whereas when someone starts emotionally regulating and they start feeling and processing for the first time, and they start getting the right education to know that this is what we're here to do in the first place as human beings, and that this is how we step into our power, and this is how we know our true self and how we learn how to express in an authentic way. Now we're not coming from this mental space. We're not coming from this mental prison anymore, where we need to be in control, where we need to make sense out of everything. We need to know what's happening, and we're not necessarily afraid to go into the unknown. There still may be fear of the unknown, but we're allowing ourselves to go into it anyways because we're processing the fear. So this person, let's say person A, is now coming from this emotionally regulated space, and let's say person B is still coming from the space of the ego or the artificial self. Person A is now in tune with their circuit board. They're in tune with the energies that are in motion that move through their nervous system and their circuit board, which has its source in the higher planes, which has its source in the higher self as it channels down through the circuit board, through the nervous system. And that person is able to extend their nervous system and their circuit board just like a Bluetooth connection and create an invisible link to the other person's emotions, to the other person's nervous system, or the other person's circuit board. So that is one nervous system to another, because one of these people in this dynamic, person A, is regulated within themselves, has safety, and also has a foundation. So they can transfer that circuit board connection. They can transfer that Bluetooth connection to the other person. They can attach to it, link into it, and as long as this person is open enough to receiving the connection, or open enough to letting the other person, person A, pull out what it is that they need or what they want to pull out. So as long as the other person is basically person B, as long as they're interested enough to see what could happen, as long as they have that intuition where it's like, I'm interested enough to see what this person can tell me or what this person demonstrates by connecting with me on that level, as long as they have that and they're not fully like resisting it completely or rejecting it or cutting it off and saying, no, I'm not connecting with you at all. Like, you have nothing to do with me. If they're open enough to just have that curiosity, that seed of curiosity, then person A, who's regulated, can start pulling very significant energies, experiences, and memories and data and information out of person B, coming directly from their nervous system, moving through their own emotional body, all related to the unconscious mind of person B. And then person A starts communicating the energies that they're receiving from person B and their unconscious. And then person A starts saying things that they shouldn't know logically, but they do know because energetically that's the data that they're tapping into. So then person B observes person A saying things that person A shouldn't know about person B, and person B says, "What in the fuck? How do you know that? Are you a psychic? Are you like, did you read my mind? What's happening?" And what I'm explaining here is the real energetic mechanics that are occult that are taking place in this type of communication and this type of energetic transference. That's how powerful it is when you start regulating your nervous system and when you start getting in tune with your emotions. And the real point of this manifesting and happening is to show person B that there are things that they've been hiding from within themselves, or things that they just purely were unconscious of, that are now able to be brought to the surface from person A, so that person B can now reflect and use person A as a mirror to better know themselves, person B, to let them surrender more of their need to be in this mental prison, or this need to be in this mental control space, so they can start letting go more, like, wow, you're right, I have been acting like that. Wow, I did do that. Wow, I knew I shouldn't. Wow, I actually don't feel good in this experience. And then they start self-reflecting, and that causes significant shifts in someone's life. And person A didn't even have to do anything other than just be themselves and emotionally have a regulated nervous system, and then link into the other person and just be themselves and bring out whatever naturally came out. All right, so the way that this looks in practical terms is like, there's times where I connect with people and they are open enough, they have that intention of curiosity. And this may be a complete stranger, right? Like, I don't know this person at all. And I may meet them, I may introduce myself, and if they have that openness enough to just let me emotionally connect with them, in the sense of just let me be me and just be open to what it is that I am, rather than being afraid of who I am or trying to cut it off because you don't resonate with who I am and you're afraid of potentially, where the conversation might go. If the person's just open enough, then oftentimes, like, as a real life example, I could meet a stranger and I introduce myself. Hey, my name's Jeremiah. They tell me their name. Hey, my name's John. Nice to meet you, John. And then I just say something just to get the conversation going. And the thing that I might say is actually something they were thinking about throughout that entire day. And they didn't tell anyone about it. And I just said something that was deep in their unconscious, that was floating in their nervous system, floating in their emotional body. And I brought it up to the surface. And as I naturally and seemingly randomly brought it up to the surface, they're now looking at me like, how in the hell did you do that? Like, I was literally just thinking about that today. That's crazy you said that. What a coincidence, right? And then that gives the person an opportunity to feel the emotion of what I brought to the surface, and that helps them process it. And that's the value from doing this. And now the person looks at me in a way that's like, wow, you really have this gift. Like, I actually like being around you. If the person's into their self-development, if they're serious about it, then they would like to be around me because I can trigger that unconscious repressed energy to come out. Whereas if someone's not into their self-development and is not walking that path, then I could be quite scary to them because I start bringing things out of their unconscious that they're unwilling to face or they're not wanting to feel yet. So that can create a dynamic where it's like, oh, I don't want to talk to this kid anymore. I don't want to be around him because he's making me aware of parts of myself that I don't want to accept. I don't want to be aware of, right? So it's a power. It's a gift. And you can use this gift wisely. And this gift is highly appreciated by people that take their self-development seriously. And you can use it in a very powerful way, just off that alone. Okay, I use it with all of my clients. For every single person that I work with, that's doing mentorships with me, that's doing calls with me, that does my tarot card readings. Every service, I am emotionally connected to every single person that I work with. And they, obviously, if they're working with me, they appreciate that. And they allow me to pull things out of their unconscious to basically use me as a mirror so that they can see into themselves and know themselves even better. And I am not the only person that has this ability. I have this ability, and I've worked quite hard to develop it myself. And there's not a lot of people that have this ability, but there are many people that exist in the self-help field or spiritual coaching or whatever type of coaching field that do have this ability. Some more than others. Some are more refined than others, but at the end of the day, this is something anyone can cultivate. Anyone can work with this potential within themselves. And it is something that actually organically and naturally happens when you're doing that integration. So I really wanted to get this video out so that you as the listener can understand the seriousness of how much power you can really gain and how much power you can have as you're integrating your true self. I think there's a lot of people that start to kind of fall into the woo-woo side of things when they hear me talk about self-love and when they hear me talk about emotional integration and regulation. Like, you have to remember that, yes, that's what it's all about. It's about loving yourself. It's about feeling good. It's about recognizing the connection that you have with other human beings and seeing that same energy that's in you within them, and that's within them within you, right? We're all connected to that same source. This is what it's all about at that fundamental level. But there is power that comes with this as well, like real significant power. There is real ability to influence others, because obviously when you have the ability to pull things out of someone's unconscious that causes them to be aware of it and then shifts their life drastically, that's power. And now that person sees that you did that, or you triggered that in their life. You didn't do it for them, but you triggered it. And that's what it means to have power. And then you start getting more influence, and that expands as well. So the more self-love that you have, the more your power is increasing simultaneously. The more you're able to work with the universe, the more you're able to work with nature itself. And literally, just like when seasons change, it controls the way that people behave. For example, when it's cold enough out, people are going to wear sweaters. Nature does that. When it's hot enough out, people are not going to wear sweaters. They're going to wear t-shirts. Nature is powerful enough to change how we interact with our daily life experience. And you can do the exact same thing as you're starting to integrate the true self, which naturally is in the cycles of nature and is in deep resonance and flow with the universe. So that is something that I really wanted to communicate. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, if you got value from this content, from this video, come down here and hit the thumbs up button. That will show me if this offered you value and if this was something that you appreciated. Okay? Also, come down in the comment section and let me know how this spoke to you. Let me know if you learned something new in this video today. I'd be really curious to hear that. Let me know if you already knew some of these principles and some of these capabilities, and let me know how you apply them in your day-to-day life. Let me know how you use them. Let me know where you've learned some of these things from. I'd be interested in all of this, but I definitely want to know if this is something that you didn't know previously, and by watching this video, did it open something up inside of you? Did it shift something? Okay, very cool. Also, come down and hit the notification bell. Make sure you're getting notified whenever I post this content. You absolutely do not want to miss out. Come down here and subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you are not yet subscribed, you're making a big mistake. Subscribing is going to further link you into the content. There is an energetic component that's behind that. If you want more value from what it is that I'm teaching, subscribe to the channel, link in. All right, now I want to say this: copy and paste the link to this video and send it to your family, friends, or social media platforms that will gain value from it. As I said this, if someone comes to your mind when I said that, send it to them. There probably is something in this video that maybe will resonate with them, that will help them on their journey. All right, my intention is also to spread my content like a wildfire, because that's also going to help me build up my empire and build up my business. So that's another thing that I'm intending for myself. So definitely do that. So now I want to take your awareness to a private Facebook community. If you go into that YouTube description and you scroll down, you're going to see a link that is under a section where it's titled Private Facebook Community. In that link, this is where you can request to join into this community. At this point, there's over 1,000 members in the community. There are people that are posting on a daily basis, and there are some really powerful people that are in this group that are more than happy to help you through your spiritual self-development journey by just giving you certain types of advice or certain types of perspectives. And really, this community is like a very safe space to be yourself and to openly share potentially some of the experiences that you've been through with your occult practices. So from what I've come to find out, there are a lot of people that have no one in their life to talk to about these types of things. So a lot of people bottle it up and they repress it in their body. And it can be very important to get involved with a community that actually understands these things and probably resonates very much with you, where you can just be vulnerable and share your experience with spirits, with entities, with planets, with rituals, with your self-development, with your emotions, sharing that publicly, and then letting, trusting the process and letting other people come to you and opening up and resonating, right? So there's been really strong real life friendships and relationships that have been formed from this private Facebook community, all right? Like real life friendships, like in person to person type of friendships. That's how powerful it is. All right, so if you want to take advantage of it, you know where to go. Now, I'm going to take your awareness to the most important link within the YouTube description. It's the first link at the top. You can't miss it. This is where you can join the Patreon. If you're someone, first of all, that is studying from my channel and you've been binge watching my videos one by one by one, and you are gaining value from it, you're noticing there are shifts taking place. If you are that type of person and you're not yet invested into my Patreon, that is exactly what you need to stop and do right now. My Patreon has tons of occult knowledge that I promise you are probably never going to hear anywhere else, including like high-level occult literature. And I also have very significant practices that help you to develop a foundation, help you to understand how to regulate the nervous system, how to feel the emotions, how to work with spirits, how to do certain types of ritualistic practices, all kinds of stuff, like real life practices. All of this is on the Patreon, and it's exclusive to the Patreon, and that content is going to be more advanced and more personal than what you're getting here. So definitely look into that. Tier number 3 and 4 gives you access to the vampire ritual that is performed on the 29th of every single month. This is the most popular tier on the Patreon itself. Literally, most of the patrons are taking advantage of it, and that speaks for itself, and I can completely understand why. So this is a ritual that is designed to completely shift your energetic structure to be more so what I call universe B dominant. And what that means is it takes the energy field and spins it counterclockwise, whereas most people have a clockwise spin to their energy field, which tends to be very radiant. It tends to push out. The counterclockwise spin tends to be a lot more magnetic. It's much more feminine in nature, and it goes inwards. So what this does for the person is it sets the stage for them claiming their power back. So if you're that type of person that's been a doormat in your life and you've just been giving yourself away, helping everybody else and loving everybody else, but not loving yourself, this sets the stage so that you can start loving yourself again. Okay, it sets that stage so you can claim your power back. It also sets the stage for you to be a lot more receptive to your unconscious, subconscious mind, and allows you to start developing a foundation to process your emotions, the repressed ones, the uncomfortable ones. But it's the process that we all need to do at the end of the day, and it sets the stage to put you in that position where your body naturally starts going through this process after receiving the service. You don't even have to do anything. It will naturally start setting you up to do these things. And obviously, as you go through that emotional processing, you start feeling better within time, and your life starts shifting drastically. All right. This is also an amazing service to start undoing or deprogramming religious trauma or religious indoctrination, which to some extent all of us have been influenced by. So rather than seeing the world in terms of good and evil, after the vampire service, you start to slowly and surely see things for what they actually are, especially within dark energy and chaos, you start to see the potential and evolutionary power that really resides within that. And you start to transmute that into yourself and gain your own potential and evolutionary power as well. All of this is in the vampire ritual for tier 3 and 4. And then to add to it, I mean, this is just a lot for the entry fee. It's only $50 for tier number 3, $150 for tier number 4, which comes with other benefits. But for that price, for both of these, that is extremely cheap for everything that is truly being offered in this service. And as I was saying, adding to it, there is a crystal grid that I have right here. It's an advanced Atlantean crystal grid, which helps surround the energy field with a protective barrier that helps protect the cells from EMF frequencies or inorganic radio waves and energy fields. And it helps to further bring them into balance so that if there is those energies, your body's cellular structure knows how to balance them out a lot more effectively. And that's partially what this grid is designed for. It's designed to help you get in tune more with the feminine energy within the self, designed to help you integrate the true self, and it's consistently projecting a therapeutic frequency coming from a torus field tool that I have. So I have a little tool that I ordered called an iTorus, and it projects certain types of frequencies based on what I choose therapeutically to always be pumping into this crystal grid. It is an extremely advanced crystal grid. It's the real deal. I've been using it for myself for, at this point, probably about 3 weeks, and it is the real deal. All right. Everyone that takes part in the vampire ritual also is included in this crystal grid, and it's subscription based. So the longer that you are signed up for the vampire ritual, every single month that you're signed up for the vampire ritual, you are going to have your personal information inside of this crystal grid, getting a constant streamline of this protective energy, of this powerful energy, of these therapeutic frequencies that are consistently pumping into it, and that deeper connection to the source, to the all, to the true self within. All right. So if this is something that resonates with you, obviously it's not for everybody, but if it resonates with you, it's probably for a reason. Consider it. First link in that YouTube description. I'm gonna leave it there. Now, with that being said, I'm gonna move now into the second link. This is another extremely important link in that description. This is where you can book a mentorship with me. So if you've been following what it is that I'm teaching and you're starting to pick up on the importance of setting a foundation in place so that you can start progressing to the more advanced and serious practices and making sure that when you get to that point, you have the capacity to actually process it, getting a mentorship with me could be absolutely life-changing. I have seen so many people get into the occult and get into deeper occult rituals and practices without having a proper foundation, and I've seen a lot of people hurt themselves in that process. And trust me, I've learned how to develop a solid foundation because I've been that person that unfortunately went in without one, and I had to go through a lot of unnecessary pain and suffering to learn how to develop one myself. And within time, because I had a strong willpower and a strong intention, I did develop one, and now I'm here as a teacher to help others. So this can be something that's super significant. This also just becomes an amazing tool for anyone that is serious about their true self-integration, is serious about learning how to regulate their nervous system, learning how to feel their emotions, and gaining the education to know what is actually taking place and why are we doing this type of work. All right, so these mentorships literally become life-changing. I've already done over 10 mentorships for the amount of time that these services have been available. Multiples of my clients have reoccurring mentorships after their first ones finish, and there have been some real life-changing results that I've been able to observe within my clients ever since they started working with me. And I gain a lot from it as well. You know, I learn a lot from my students just as much as they learn from me. Funny enough, I'm learning just as much, and I love that. There's not a better thing to do in life than do what you love and know that what you love to do is also helping you know yourself more. It's a beautiful thing. So if any of this resonates with you, if you want to set yourself up for success in that type of way, second link below, definitely look into the mentorships. Do not miss that opportunity. Now, if you want to get a taste on what the mentorships could be like, you can also book a one-on-one call with me. It's also in that same second link below. So go ahead and check that out. In the same second link below, the same second link, This is where you can book a tarot card reading with me. This is an extremely unique tarot card reading that I promise you, you have never received before. And the reason why is because I understand the Kabbalistic tree way more than the average person, and I can literally pinpoint where you are on that tree. I can tell you what you're feeling, experiencing, and going through in the present moment, and then what to expect moving into your near and your long-term future. All right, I go into very much depth with these cards. I break it down, as I said, from a Kabbalistic lens. I break it down on the deep symbolism that's popping out, and I give a very raw and honest reading based on exactly what the card is telling me. That is what is my duty to relay to you, without any other bullshit, without any other sugarcoating or anything else. I'm giving it to you the way that I feel it needs to come through. And on top of that, I also include oracle cards. So I'll be pulling 3 oracle cards, one for the present, near future, and long-term future, that also help to give some context to the reading itself, just to give it a little extra kick. All right, I've done well over 2,000 of these readings. I do one almost every single day. Just today I did 3 in a row. Let's see, I've been doing this for other people for about 4 years now. I've been doing it on myself for close to 7 years. And I received tons of valuable feedback. So if this is something you want to take advantage of, look into it. Second link below is also how you can book that tarot card reading with me. We'll leave it there. Now we're moving into the third link below, okay? And the third link is where you can become a YouTube member. And as you're becoming a YouTube member, you are gaining access to a multitude of different benefits. But most importantly, you are gaining access to what is called the Psychic Warfare Emoji Program. This is a sequence of emojis that I've designed myself that are based on real occult principles, and you can use them in a specific configuration. Then you link in the name of a target, hit enter, and it actually causes psychic effects to the target of your choice. This is like the simplest way to use psychic warfare on the internet platform, and it also becomes an amazing way to express healthy aggression because it's all done through psychic means. All right, so rather than repressing that energy inside of your body and causing harm to your body, we can express it outwards now, all right, and actually cause psychic effects. So there are well over 2,000 posts where members have used it. There are members in this moment right now that are taking advantage of it. If you want to use it for yourself, you can definitely do so. You click that third link below, you join at the top, and then you have access, my friend. So with that being said, this is where I'm going to wrap it up. Ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate all of you very, very, very much. And I hope you all have an amazing rest of the day or night, wherever you are. And I will see you in the next video. Peace.